to yet another episode of Parsons Productions. Today we're back working on the Suzuki SV650. Today we've got an interesting problem. The other day while I was riding, this happened. If you were unable to see what happened in that last video, on accelerations, particularly hard accelerations, the engine will just either cut out completely or pretend like it's running on one cylinder, like it's not quite getting spark. And don't worry, I wasn't going that fast. My speedometer is broken. More like 25 to 50 miles an hour. I have tried a number of things. I've scoured the internet from top to bottom to left to right, and I have found a multitude of things it possibly could be. For example, I replaced both fuel injectors, not it. I replaced both spark plugs, not it. I've replaced multiple parts on here, and nothing seems to be it. Now, I did check my electrical system, I checked the fuel system, all works just fine. Now, what I've done from some research is the fuel pump. The fuel pump can operate at a 0 to 75% range, and you really need that 100% range for large throttle inputs. For example, in the video I just showed you, when I mashed on a throttle, the system bogged out. And I believe, personally, that's what's causing our issue. We will be installing a brand new fuel pump on our Suzuki SV650. For our fuel pump issues, I picked up what's called a quantum fuel pump. These are supposed to be one of the best on the market. It comes with multiple parts. We have a fuel pressure regulator. This is the fuel filter, and since my bike is dented on the side, there is small amounts of metal inside this tank. So this fuel filter is going to come in super handy. This is the fuel tank seal. We have the wiring harness, as well as a different fuel filter, as well as a few lines and hose clamps, and last but not least, the pump itself. Super high quality, it feels really heavy and really nice, and I've watched a couple videos on this online, and they all have fantastic reviews. So let's yank this tank off, hold the old fuel pump out, and install this brand new shiny pump. On that side is a little round clip. Do some pull-ups, not pull-ups. Okay, now that we have the tank off the bike, a good way to prop it up is in a chair. I have a little swivel chair like this, and I have cloth underneath it just to kind of pad it since I don't have a fuel tank stand of some kind. You'll notice the fuel pump's right here, as well as the heat shield. You can bend these two little tabs up and remove the heat shield. It's kind of wedged in there, so just do your best to pull it out without breaking it. And there's the heat shield. Next, we're going to start by removing all of these Allen keys around the fuel pump and pop it out. Okay, so I have a 5 on an impact. You can do this with a hand tool or a power tool. This next part's pretty tricky. The fuel pump is pretty much cylindrical, and theoretically you can just pull it right out. However, there is a little plastic tab at the end, and it is quite difficult to pull out. Ask me how I know, I've done this once before. So let's pull. You can see I can get it about halfway out, and then once it's hitting this little piece of plastic, you might feel like you're gonna break something, but the best way to get this out is just to pull, and it's really hard, and you feel like you're gonna break something, and you might. Really annoying, and this fuel pump is not cheap, so don't break it. If you just work it back and forth like that, it'll just pop out. This thing does stink and it does leak, so just be careful, lay a towel out. The fuel pump is a very sensitive instrument. Be sure to take some photos before you start disassembling things, just so you don't put things together backwards. It's a good habit to get into. So looking over the fuel pump, this is from a 2006 Suzuki SV650. We have not one, but 2 thermomisters. Thermomisters. One is for your fuel light. As soon as the fuel reaches this one, it'll turn on your low fuel indication. And this one will start blinking. On the older generation SV650s, they just had one, and it was like, all right, time to go fill up. So this is the fuel filter right here, as well as the fuel pump. Pulled it out of there as soon as we had our thermomisters out. That's what's all holding it together. And now it's time for motor disassembly. So theoretically, that's our culprit right here. This is just not sucking like it should. Good suck, bad suck. Good suck, bad suck. Okay, so what's going on right now is a little bit of an issue. This is for an older version of an SV650, the 2003 to 2004 apparently. I have a 2006, so the wiring connection is a slight bit different. It's still positive and negative. However, that'll go on there. The old one looks like this. So we'll have to cut it off, do some soldering, do some magic. Okay, so we had some interesting connectors. Now we have that were in the package from Quantum. Now we'll hopefully attach to our fuel pump, no problem. Let's reassemble. Perfect. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, the little rubber piece will go on. Nice. Followed by a little plastic piece. The fuel pump is all back together. Little concerned about the wiring. Should work just fine. It also came with a new seal, so we're gonna remove the old seal, put this back in, and test it out. Old seal can be a little tricky to remove. You can just use a piece of metal, just don't scratch it. Beautiful, beautiful indeed. Put it back on the bike. It's now time to start it and see if it works. All of our hard work paid off or not. I'm gonna put the seat on, start it, and see what happens. Okay, we'll know if this worked or not if we hear fuel pump whining noises. Sounded like a fuel pump. What do you think? It sounds different than the last one.
Sounds healthy.
Huh? So the problem last time that happened was it idled fine and it revved just fine and it rode around at low speeds, no problem. The moment you get on the throttle, once it's warmed up fully, then it started showing its weaknesses. So we won't really know until we ride it, so let's do that. Sounds like a spaceship. You can hear it in the tank right now.
It sounds healthy.
Listen to the tank.
That sounds like what it's supposed to be. The other one, it was like...
Yeah. And it feels okay.